All right, it is 7 o'clock on Tuesday, May 5th, and I will call the regular council meeting to order. First item of business is the roll call.
Okay. Mayor Juan?
I'm here.
No. Vice Mayor Ania?
I'm here.
Councilmember Diaz?
Yes.
Councilmember Tillman?
Here.
Councilmember Trupiano?
I'm here.
We have a quorum.
Excellent. Next, if you would join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, that is item 2. Next is item 3, public comment on non-agenda items. One moment.
Sorry, that's stuck on the extension cord.
If anyone has any comment on any non-agenda items, now is the time. Seeing none, I will close public comment on non-agenda items. Next is consent calendar. There are 2 items. Does anyone have anything that they would like to pull? Seeing none.
4B.
4B, okay. Councilmember Diaz indicated 4B.
Right. I'd like to hear a little bit more. Chris and I talked about this, and apparently whatever services we receive from other vendors, we weren't able to do everything, and so therefore we had to go back and bring in a former vendor.
Right.
Yeah.
Happy to describe what the circumstances were. So we have been working with a new weed abatement contractor this year, S2S, out of San Ramon. They've been doing a great job. They're having staffing troubles to the point where they could not put 4 people out there doing the weed abatement up in the areas of the open space until 2 weeks ago. Before that, had been a 2-person team out there. That was making us fall behind in our plan for how the weed abatement was going to happen. And so I went and talked to Warner, who is our former weed abatement company. They had ranked number 3 in the RFP we did a year ago for those weed services. And they agreed to take the same fees that S2S took for this particular contract.
Tell me this, did they, why were we finished, why did we complete their contract before? What, had they completed everything up to that point, or were they no longer a competitive bidder on future work?
So are you talking about for Warner?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think the decision had been made that it had not been put out to bid for a number of years for that particular contract. There was also some ambiguity about the contract. When I did the research about, seemed to have been a scope creep on the one contract that didn't fully kind of incorporate all the responsibilities that they were now charging the cities for, frankly. And so we decided to put that out for bid and all that. It wasn't anything other than that, and so they were free to submit a proposal as well during that RFP process a year ago.
Okay. I just curious, because I know they were a major contractor for us for a number of years, and I know we invested a heck of a lot of money with them, and the service was satisfactory.
I would say it's satisfactory, and we did ask them to do a couple things under Chris's signature authority under the $30,000 here to get us, frankly, caught up here in the spring. The hillside below the elementary school, you'll notice, was a major job done by them. They got a whole bunch of invasive species out of there, as well as getting rid of all the weeds and everything else. So I think they really stepped up at a critical time for us and got that done. And as you'll see in a report we'll provide a little bit later on about the status of all the weed abatement process, we're going to be taking it right up to the June 1st deadline, more or less. So this is going to be a critical piece to help us get there.
Okay, thank you.
The only thing that I would comment on is you had mentioned that there's like a plan for this, and you alluded to it for later. And I think in the past couple of meetings we've asked for an overall project plan for the general beautification type efforts. Is that forthcoming?
We have something for you today.
Is it in the agenda packet?
It is not in the agenda packet. It was being worked on today. So,
Okay,
as part of the city manager's report.
okay, perfect. And then
But we-
hopefully after, it'll be something that we could, perfect. Okay, cool, thanks. All right, any other comment on the consent calendar? Okay, public comment on the consent calendar? Seeing none, close public comment, and bring it back to council for a motion.
I'll move for rule.
I'll second.
If we could take the roll.
Councilmember Diaz,
Yes.
Councilmember Tillman,
Aye.
Councilmember Trupiano,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Ania,
Yes.
Mayor Juan.
Aye.
All right, the motion carries 5-0.
All right, and with that, we move on to item 5A. This is a presentation of a proclamation recognizing May 10th through 16th as National Police Week and May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day here in the city of Clayton. I believe that our chief may be receiving the proclamation, and I will read it here. It's very nice. So, whereas by joint resolution approved October 1st, 1962, Congress and the President of the United States designated May 15th of each year as Peace Officers Memorial Day, and a calendar week in which it falls as National Police Week, in honor of federal, state, and local law enforcement officers who have been killed or disabled in the line of duty, and further directed that flags be flown at half-staff on Peace Officers Memorial Day. And whereas in every American community, law enforcement officers are committed to the preservation of life, property, risking their lives daily to protect us from those who would mock the law while providing protection, law and order, and serving the cause of justice. And whereas the members of the Clayton Police Department, including its officers and staff, play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of the residents and businesses in the city of Clayton and unceasingly provide a vital public service to our community. And whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the duties, responsibilities, hazards, and sacrifices of their law enforcement officers, and that members of our law enforcement agency recognize their duty to serve the people of Clayton by safeguarding life and property, protecting them against violence and disorder, and shielding the innocent against deception and the weak, against oppression. And whereas we honor the heroism of all of our law enforcement officers, especially those who have given their lives so that others may live, and we ask God's blessing for the families and friends they left behind. And whereas Officer Robert Lovell Scott died on November 22nd, 1983, as a result of injuries sustained on September 18th, 1977, in the line of duty while protecting the residents of the city of Clayton. And Reserve Officer Lenny Cantanado was killed on March 1st, 1992, by a DUI driver while returning home from his patrol shift. And whereas across the nation, Police Week is observed with ceremonies, including the hanging of a blue bow or ribbon to honor law enforcement officers who have sacrificed their lives in the line of duty, and to recognize those who continue to keep us safe. Now, therefore, I, Jeff Wan, Mayor of the City of Clayton, on behalf of the Clayton City Council, do hereby proclaim Sunday, May 10th through Saturday, May 16th, as National Police Week in the City of Clayton, in honor of our law enforcement officers and police department staff, past and present, who have rendered dedicated service to this community. And I do further proclaim May 15th, 2026 as Peace Officers Memorial Day in the City of Clayton, in honor of those law enforcement officers who, through their courageous deeds, have made the ultimate sacrifice in service to their community, or have become disabled in the performance of such honorable duty. I encourage all citizens of Clayton to express their deep appreciation to the men and women who risk their lives each day to guard and protect us. And I have this proclamation for you. Typically, normally we do, did you want to do a picture with the proclamation? All right, all right.
Here we go.
If I may offer a couple of comments.
Yes, please.
I knew Lenny Cantando very well. he was a very well-recognized officer in this community, and he was one of those individuals that had that ability to determine somebody had something in their background, and he would initiate a traffic stop, and sure enough, they would have some sort of warrant or something like that. But in general, he was one of the most likable guys you ever wanted to meet, and it was really a tragedy when he was leaving work to go home, and unfortunately, a driver returning going the wrong way in the number 1 lane hit Lenny head on. And for those of you that may be interested, Lenny's buried next to his family plot at the Lafayette Cemetery, right off of the community of Lafayette, and has a very nice headstone with a picture of him on it in his uniform, and just a great young man. And he's been missed for all these years. Good person, Lenny Cantando.
Thank you.
I'd like to say something.
Please.
I also knew Lenny and worked many shifts with him volunteering. And that accident occurred on 680 while he was on his way home to Lafayette. The wrong way driver hit him, and he is deeply missed. The other officer, actually it's Roger Scott, but that's all right. It's just a typo. He was working by himself because the city of Clayton would not have 2 officers on. They kept that up until 1992. When I started in 1990, I used to work the midnight shifts by myself. The city really didn't care much at that time. If I needed assistance, it was Concord or the sheriff's office or highway patrol. And those guys worked that all the way up until, I think it was 93, when we finally had a chief that came in and says, we're not having this. Anyway, so what happened was he saw a suspicious person at around 1:30 in the morning at the Clayton Community Church now on Clayton Road. So he went in to investigate the guy. Turned out the guy was naked. He was he had mental issues, and he charged the officer immediately. And that officer called for help, and a Concord sergeant was coming from way across town. Anyway, they struggled and they fought over his gun, and he was shot. And the Concord officer got there just after that Roger was shot. And the Concord sergeant drew his gun, told the guy to drop that gun. Guy wouldn't, he was approaching, so the Concord officer shot him. That's the story of Roger. And he suffered from 1977 to 1983 with that bullet still in his body because they couldn't operate. And that's the story. And I thank God that we don't have one person working anymore. That's absolutely ridiculous. And it was ridiculous then. But anyway, that's the story. And thank you for recognizing it hasn't been done in several years. And I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. The background is always very helpful for those of us who weren't here at the time, so thank you. All right, so that is item 5. Next is item 6, reports, and our city manager has a report for us that...
Yes, I'm going to do part of it, and then I'll pass it over to Dennis for the maintenance side of things. A couple quick things. Public Works Director, we are in the final stages of the background for that individual. Tentative start date mid-June. So if everything goes swimmingly for the next week or so, we will see a new face here in the second meeting in June. We will bring him to introduce him. So looking forward to adding to our team and moving forward. We also have a vacancy at our city clerk position. To date, we have received 110 applications that I've had to review. I won't say how many applications are moving forward at this point, but we continue to market that in a variety of areas. We do have potential candidates in that group, so that's a great thing. I think I mentioned in the past, we'll be interviewing towards the end of this month. So hopefully we will see a new face in the clerk's area towards the end of June, beginning of July, just in time for all of our wonderful candidates leading up to the election for a variety of things. So it'll be a busy season for someone to jump in and get acquainted to the city of Clayton, but we're excited for some new people to join us. So that's it on the personnel front, and for the maintenance side, I'll turn it over to Mr. Bazanich.
Thanks. So I have a couple of reports I thought would be helpful to share here, and if
That's gonna have to be about 800% bigger.
Yeah.
really 800%. Let me work on that right now here.
No, it is not in the packet.
Yeah, no, it is not in your packet. Is that 800? Okay, you're going to get this in.
Let's talk to it instead of trying to refer to the document. It may be difficult for us to see.
Okay, this first set of records is the parcels that the city owns. This is a pretty complete list of all of the parcels that the city owns in some really weird places, I have to say. The ones that are highlighted in green, which are mostly properties up in the Keller Ridge area, those areas, the weed abatement has been completed. So everything in green, so the downtown areas as well as Keller Ridge are basically have been completed. The ones in yellow will be completed this week. Those are mostly Peacock and associated areas on that east side of town. The purple ones are ones that will be done by the end of May, probably that last week of May. And the couple of blue ones you have there are ones that actually don't need any weed abatement on them because they don't back up to any structures in any way, shape, or form. They back up to other parcels, other parks, and open space areas. So we don't have any weed abatement requirements there. Just so you have a sense of it, it's 532 acres of property that the city owns, scattered all in between other privately owned residences mostly, as well as some businesses. And so it's quite a handful to deal with every single year. The good news is it doesn't seem to be growing much anymore, the inventory of those acres. So that's the status of weed abatement at this point. Something else we've been tracking lately, particularly with the help of the police department, is a list, and as I said, you'll get this, and we'll put this up online for the public to see as well. They during their shifts have been making notes on the status of things like the lines on the streets and the little reflective dots that we have there to mark fire hydrants and lane demarcations, to note the red curbs that need to be repainted. So this is a list of 156 some odd items all over the city of things that are in need of either replacement or paint or a number of things. We've identified that one of our vendors, our on-call pothole repair contractor, can make themselves available to handle the restriping and the repainting of the restraining lines and the stops sign pieces and even replacing the missing reflective dots that go in the road. So they're working up an estimate now. I'm hoping that it's competitive. And then we've also identified that city staff has recently purchased a commercial grade sprayer that can handle the red curb painting. And so we'll be divvying that up, and we think over the next couple of months, 2.5 months, we ought to be able to get that done in pretty short order, working in areas one area at a time and moving around the city. So that's just a sense of a lot of the kind of street maintenance needs. We'll work around. You all know we've got street repaving projects coming up. To the extent anything's on this list is also going to be taken care of during that process, we'll take it off this list and just wait for the bigger road project.
For this list, is there a time component like there was in the other one?
Yeah, so I think on this one, we certainly believe by the end of the summer, we'll have this list completed.
What does that mean for you? Is like the
September
actual summer
1st.
or September 1st?
September 1st.
Okay.
I have two questions. Thank you, Dennis. So I did go by, I came down Center Street near the Easley development today, and I don't know when we're going to do Center Street. And it is weeds, but it's also trimming it. And it's, again, part of the downtown. Looks really, really bad.
Yeah.
I would put that on the list if it's not already. And then I also noticed, and you may have this on that list, the corner of Diablo and Center Street, those two signs are so faded, you can't even read Center or Diablo. I just, happen to know that intersection. So I know we talked about Vice Mayor Ania about replacing signs maybe with a different color. I don't know if we're sticking with brown, and that's a larger discussion, but those are really faded.
Yeah, we plan on bringing this item back. We're going to replace all the street signs, not the street name signs. So stop signs, speeds, all of those things that are faded. We're working on those now. We want to bring back for council to discuss and make a decision if you want to keep the brown, if you want to change colors. We're working with a couple of vendors to provide us some samples to bring in, take a look at them, get direction before we start. That way we have a decision. So as we continue to do this year over year, we have a design and a color and a standard that we're going to move to if you choose to move to something different.
And samples are great, but a cost comparison too, like, is it any less expensive to go green than it is brown? Is brown?
No, it's not so much the color, it's the material the sign is made
Got
of
it.
and the reflective material.
And the reflective
Yeah.
is important. Thank you.
And then one last piece I'll just share. So, and this is, again, sorry for not having it blown up to start, but these are just some of the projects that we are working on. These are things you know about, the street rehab projects. But also we've added to this list, and this is a list that's growing, the pedestrian improvements for downtown. These are things that are mostly CIP based, but again, we want to create a timeline associated with each of these as well. I can tell you the timeline for the paving project is we expect the bid to open next week. We'll take bid responses till the 1st of June, and then there's a slight chance we can negotiate a contract and get everything settled for the second meeting in June, but probably more realistically, it's going to be the first meeting of July before that gets all negotiated. But I'll make every effort to get it there for the second June meeting. But this is again one of the things just to note that these were projects that you determined in January of 25. And so we're, with the transitions, this is, we're trying to keep it on track. We're moving it forward. And so, hopefully we can get a better cadence of this with the new staff and be able to really be able to stay more timely on these things. So I'm open to any questions you might have on this.
I just have one on this list on the decorative light poles. So I know a lot of our street lights downtown, and I don't know if that's what you're referring to there. I don't know if it needs design and engineering services. They just need paint, I think. And a lot of them are broken. They have panels that are broken.
That doesn't have design.
Missing.
That does not have design engineering for those streetlights.
Okay.
That doesn't go to that row. It stops at the row before for the Cardinate
okay.
Trail repair.
Okay,
That just
got
needs
it.
paint and
Just paint.
and a painter.
Yes.
Or painters, plural.
And repair too, because like some of those boxes or like shields that cover the interior, whatever that would be called, are missing.
Yeah, I think that's
Access
technically.
panel.
I call it the guts. Guts of the lamp. Yeah.
Very precise.
The
Yes.
door to the guts is missing.
The door to the guts. There you go. Thanks.
Thanks.
I have a couple of questions. What is it, the contract dates that are in column D, what are those? They seem to go in chronological order as you go down.
You know why? Because I dragged one thing down and it auto-filled it.
That's what I figured, but I was like, what is happening?
Sorry, the contract, yeah.
So they're all going to happen at the same time? with
They're
the
all
same
going to happen at the same
contract?
time. Yes,
Okay.
yes, ma'am, sorry.
It's okay. And then on the same cell that you're in right now, so A17.
Yes.
And then A18, what is the timing on that? In particular, the fence on the MDS trail, which I'm happy to see on this list.
Well, I put it on there today because it's kind of come to our attention today, that there's some people out there talking about it today and yesterday on a petition, perhaps somewhere out there.
That was mentioned at our last meeting.
At the
Yeah,
interwebs?
I did mention it, but the petition is new.
Yeah, so there's that. We have to look at that and see, it'd be a pretty expensive fence or railing system or something. It's 0.2 of a mile. I measured it out today. That's not a little thing. There's probably post and pipe fitted kinds of railing systems you could put in there. It's really a question of then it's another piece to maintain. First build it and then maintain it. So there just seemed to be some evidence at the top of the hill that we noticed today of an old kind of stake and wire, the 4-inch wire fencing that had been there that looked pretty ratty, that looked like it had maybe served a fencing purpose at one time along that trail, but it no longer would serve that purpose. It'd need to be removed and started over. So, just...
I would also suggest that we find out where our property is and where the school district's is. I'm sure you're probably already doing that.
I already was looking at it, and it's not as
It's not.
easy as I thought it would be. So there could be some challenges there, hopefully not resulting in like having to hire a surveyor or something.
They have whole
If I-
professions dedicated to this.
Yeah, they do.
If
That's
I-
good to know. So we can take them up on that. So, yes.
If I might, this wasn't agendized as a subtopic to discuss, as it's just meant to be a brief discussion under city manager's report. So if we want to discuss this more, I would suggest we agendize a specific discussion on the maintenance issues.
Okay, sounds good.
Yep.
Can I just add one comment that isn't a discussion? As a recommendation, I would say if you add a dedicated column for start and end, like separate columns, you can project this in a Gantt view, and it would be a lot more digestible to look at.
Well, along with the cost and what fund it's coming out of,
Yep.
that's, I think, something we asked last time, too. That would be really helpful. Like, is it LMD? Okay.
Okay, cool.
Can I add something? From Allah, I don't know that if it doesn't apply, but if that's a dedicated trail, would that come under the trail?
Yeah, let's table this one
Okay.
until we agendize it specifically, and then we could address it. If you have a
Okay.
specific comment, maybe we could address it individually. All right. So that's from Allah. All right. So that concludes item 6A. City council reports are in the agenda packet. 6B. Next is item 7A. This is consider the renewal of ordinance 495, military equipment use policy, public engagement findings, and review and approve acquisition of drones discussion. Take it away, Chief.
All right, good evening. Mayor, council, public, staff. So if we can bring that presentation up, that'd be great. So this is our 2025 military equipment annual report and council and public engagement, as well as requests for future acquisitions. If you can go next slide, please. So we're going to be covering a few things. We're going to cover the history, the equipment we have, the types of training that we do and the use, also our audit and any community concerns or complaints, and then our projected acquisitions, and then obviously an opportunity to hear from council, take questions as well from the public. Next, please. So a brief history. So AB 481, which codified this requirement, came about in 2021. City of Clayton, adopted an ordinance, Ordinance 495 in 2022. and the police department established their policy pertaining to military use equipment. It's been classified as Policy 710. We meet the requirement of an annual report, and as well as receiving community feedback, which is required by AB 481. The council has some responsibility in this, in that the city council is to review the annual report, hear community feedback, and then determine renewal of ordinance, including specific equipment. And we'll get into that more a little bit later. Next, please. So I'm not going to go through every aspect of this slide, but I'll just cover the general topic. So military equipment has a classification. And as is included in my staff report, as well as our policy and also in this presentation, it includes various items that can include armored vehicles, certain types of projectiles, unmanned vehicles, whether on the ground or in the air, flashbang or distraction devices, and kinetic entry devices in general. Those are the kind of the general categories. One of the things that has to be determined both by us and by council is this equipment necessary? Is it reasonable? And there's really no reasonable alternatives to it. And it leads directly to officer and community safety. So those are kind of the general requirements there. Our policy is specifically designed not only to guide our conduct and use of this equipment, but as well to protect the public's welfare, their rights, and their safety. We also take a look at, is this equipment reasonably cost efficient? Although in today's environment, nothing's reasonably cost efficient. And are there reasonable alternatives? And have we looked at that? And are we using equipment that fits the need, essentially, without any other options? Next, please. So summary of the equipment we have. We have a fairly simple, straightforward supply of this equipment. We have a specialized, which is considered under this the law, specialized firearm and ammunition, which is the Colt M4 carbine. It shoots a standard 5.56 projectile. It's only qualified for supervisor use, and those that have received the what's in layman's terms called the short barrel rifle course. All of our officers, however, are issued a standard AR-15 patrol rifle. Very similar to those of you that are familiar with firearms. If you look at one next to the other, they look almost identical. The only difference really is the barrel length. And so our officers carry standard length rifles and do not fall under the specialized firearm category. Next, please. We also carry Remington 870 12-gauge less lethal launcher shotguns, commonly known as beanbag shotguns. We have 4 of those. And they shoot what's called a super sock round, which is basically beanbags that are encased in a, lack of a better term, like a canvas envelope. We also have a Defense Technology 40 millimeter single shot launcher that shoots what's called an impact sponge round. It's very dense, almost rubberized, but it's not technically rubber. It's a dense foam round. Both of these pieces of equipment are used as in environments where we need to either disable or distract someone who is posing a threat to officers or the public, and where lethal force may not be the best option. So this gives us an in-between option as opposed to lethal force. And it also allows us to engage at distance. As opposed to like a taser, for example, you have to be within 20 feet of taser. This gives us a lot more standoff distance. Okay. Next, please. We have a command and control vehicle. It's a 2019 cargo mate trailer. It's used for critical incidents. We keep search and rescue type equipment in there, equipment for natural disasters. Should we have to go out to a crime scene for an extended period of time, this would allow us to be able to take large amounts of equipment, have a place for people, our people and others that may be working that incident to get out of the sun or whatever, have some shelter and that type of thing. And it's a tow behind trailer. Okay, next please. So training, officers receive initial and refresher training. So every new officer that we get goes through the required amount of training, and then our officers receive regular training as required by post and our policy. And that varies based on the type of equipment and so on and so forth. We have not had any uses this last year in 2025, so there was no deployments of those. Although much of the equipment, such as the beanbag shotguns, we carry on a regular basis. Our patrol officers carry that. We have not deployed that in 2025, so that's what that refers to. We did have one mutual aid deployment of a drone, UAS, by Concord in 2025, and that was to apprehend a fleeing wanted felon that had fled into a neighborhood. The use of the drone was critical in safely apprehending that individual and not allowing them to remain in a neighborhood. So very effective. And Concord has been a spectacular partner in the use of this type of technology. Next, please. So audits. We conducted our audit in March 2026. All of our equipment is accounted for and in compliance with the policy. We have not received any community complaints or concerns, and we had no internal complaints regarding the use of our equipment. Okay, next, please. So projected acquisition, if you recall back in November, I presented to the council to inform the council of the opportunity to pursue a UAS drone technology through the Department of Homeland Security grant process through the G5, which is through Contra Costa County. That has been submitted. We haven't heard anything yet, so the process takes forever. And there's very little communication until we hear one way or the other. We submitted for a $100,000 request. Our intent is to obtain a tethered and free fly drones. If awarded, which would be around March 2027, around that timeline, we would return to council for approval and platform specifics. Okay, it's required by AB 481 that we present as specific as possible the type of equipment down to models and capabilities. Given the market that is out there right now in this technology, which seems to be evolving about every 6 months, there's a whole evolution of this technology. We're way too far out to even propose something of what we would want to get, because by the time we would get there, it's going to be a new model and new capabilities. Next slide, please. So recommendation is to receive our annual report and to review it under the requirements of AB 481 and determine that what we have is necessary for our community, to safeguard our community and under the requirements of AB 481, and to approve the acquisition of a UAS drone down the road should we obtain that funding. We currently do not have any budget allocation for a UAS program. Next slide. That's the end of my presentation.
Questions for the chief?
I have a couple. Back on the page where you had the less lethal launchers, and you mentioned about the Remington 870. You said there was only 4 of those that you were...
Correct.
Are they assigned to the supervisors then?
No, so they're assigned per shift.
Oh,
so,
per shift.
So when the officers
So they would
go
have
out,
to take it and move it each time a new shift starts?
Correct. So that's part of the equipment the officers check out at the beginning of the shift, and at the end of the shift, they check it back into the safe.
Okay, well, isn't there a standard Remington 870 that's assigned to each vehicle?
No.
You don't do that anymore? Because
No.
it used to be every vehicle had its own 870.
No, those have been replaced with the patrol rifles.
The AR-15?
Correct.
Gotcha, okay, all right. Okay. And then finally, these defense technology, the 40 millimeters, single launcher. How many again did you say you had of those?
We have one of those.
Oh, one of those. Who's responsible for that?
So that would be incident specific. So that would either be grabbed by a supervisor or an officer and brought out into the field if that presented itself.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a couple questions for Chief. Let me
Yes, ma'am.
move this a little bit closer. In the staff report, it mentions that the department would also develop and implement a UAS policy to define authorized uses, privacy and constitutional protections, program coordination and certification, prohibited uses and training. And then below that, it mentions that if the application's approved and funded, that you'd bring before City Council the grant award as well as the specific UAS equipment sought for review and approval. Will we also be able to see the actual policy and
Yeah.
review and approve that? Okay.
Absolutely.
It wasn't clear. It looked like you were going to
Yeah.
write it, but that wasn't saying you were bringing that back to us.
Yeah, no, I apologize. So the
Okay.
policy is actually not required to be brought forward.
Okay.
When, in previous jurisdiction, I stood up a UAS program, and we made that part of the package.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
As the policy, again, I believe in being absolutely transparent with these things, and to not only allow council to provide feedback and observations and ask questions, but also for the public, and I think
Yeah.
that's critical. So I apologize if that wasn't clear.
It's
but
okay. I just
guess
wanted to clarify. It's good.
In my head, I knew it was going to be there, and so I apologize. Yes, but it
Okay.
would be, absolutely.
Thank you. And then the only other two questions I had is it mentioned in the packet that there's a military equipment coordinator.
Yes.
Who is that person?
It's Sergeant Shaw.
Thank you. And then the drone that you mentioned came from Concord. Was that because it started in Concord and came into Clayton, or we asked them to use their drone?
We asked them to use their drone.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Regarding the drone, we just used Concord's, a couple months ago with 2 lost females,
Correct.
little girls,
Yes.
on the golf course. They were there right away,
Correct.
and they found it.
Yes.
So drones are very, very useful.
Yeah, we've had actually a couple in 2026 where drones have become critical to the success of what we were trying to accomplish. One was 2 lost children, 2 girls. I think they were 7 and 8 years old,
Yeah,
something
very
like that. And then we also had a at-risk missing person. And the drone, Concord, I think, did 4 or 5 fly-throughs, both during daylight and nighttime. And what that allowed us to do is to eliminate where this person was not. And we, in addition to us conducting foot patrols in those areas, which is down in the creek, gully areas, which is very difficult to do, we also use the motorcycle and the Polaris. But those are still restricted. You can only go where you can go. And by using the UAS drone, we were able to do a daytime search, and then they came back out at night, and they were able to do an infrared search. So that allowed us to put our efforts other places, knowing that those areas had been eliminated.
Great.
Very
great.
helpful.
In terms of the overall cost, you had mentioned that the grant is $100,000. Is that meant to align with the cost of the program, or is there going to be a shortfall that needs to be made up, or is that greater than? Do you have a sense of that?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So that is to encompass the entire program. So that would encompass equipment, initial training, and the ancillary items that go along with supporting that program.
Okay. So if approved, it should be at least neutral in
Yes.
terms of cost?
Yes.
Okay.
And so just to follow up on that then, because I was thinking the same thing, I didn't realize it included training. Is there a possibility we wouldn't get the entire 100,000? They might come back with a different amount?
Yeah, that's
And then we'd have to,
that's possible. We did we did emphasize the need of that, but yes, they could come back and say it's 50,000 or 75,000, and then we would scale the program accordingly.
okay.
Our intent is to operate within whatever the grant award is, in order to make that program successful.
Thanks for clarifying
Yeah.
that. Thank you.
Excellent. Other questions for Chief?
I happen to think when you mentioned the drones, so they have both visual and infrared capability. Is that
Correct.
correct? Okay, so that way, just the body heat, for example, would emanate, and then it would sense that when you're doing it in a particular search area.
That's correct.
Okay. And the video, is it high definition?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah, it's exceptional quality. The level of technology in these small
And that's
packages.
evolving very
It is,
rapidly.
and it's changing. Like I said, it's changing on almost a
Yeah,
6-month
yeah.
by 6-month basis. Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
Excellent. All right. Thank you very much. If there's other questions, we may ask you again.
Absolutely.
Public comment on this item? Seeing none, I will close public comment, and I think the chief is looking for an approval just of this the report and the policy, if I recall the item.
I'll move approval. Wait a minute, let me
Wait,
find
let me
my,
make sure
let me
we-
find my,
Because we're not approving the
report
drone
only.
program at this point.
So it would be the approval of the annual report, renewal of the ordinance, and the approval of the intent to acquire drones should there be funding.
okay, so I'll make,
Correct. Correct.
I'll make a motion to approve all of that. Do you want me to repeat it, Mala?
No, I think as we understand it, it's staff recommendation, the staff report.
Okay.
I'll second it. Oh, go ahead.
If we could call the roll.
Will do. Councilmember Diaz?
Yes.
Councilmember Trupiano?
Yes.
Councilmember Tillman?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Ania?
Yes.
And Mayor Juan?
Aye.
Okay, the motion carries 5-0.
All right. With that, that is item 7A. Next is item 7B. The chief may be speaking on this one as well, I am supposing. This is a discussion of a resolution to prohibit parking during certain hours and place parking restriction signage on Pebble Beach Drive adjacent to the City of Clayton open space.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, council, staff, and public. Dennis, would you mind just bring up that visual real quick? This will be a short presentation. The area on Pebble Beach, just off of Peacock Creek, is a known area to our community and probably to most of us here. It's adjacent to Clayton open space. Along the roadway, the north side of the roadway, are two benches that have been installed. And so it's a viewing area. And you can view Clayton, and you can view, the outstretched community as well as the bay out there. So it's a very popular place. Over the last 6 months, or a little bit more than that, the police department has received over 24 complaints regarding activity primarily at night that's occurring out there. And that ranges anywhere from loud music to smoking, drinking, leaving trash, so on and so forth. In fact, I just ran another report today. Since the creation of this report, so since March to now, we've received an additional 11 complaints. So this is an ongoing issue. Again, most of them at night in the evening hours. In this area, you'll see here, there's currently no parking restrictions. So it's neighborhood parking, right? On the south side, it is the border of homes, so side yards. And then on the north side is the open space that eventually leads to 1003 Pebble Beach there. Currently, because there's no parking restrictions, people can park there obviously at any time. It's a neighborhood. I believe, based on the calls for service that we've had, I've also gotten direct community feedback, as well as I've spoken to other city staff regarding the number of responses by our maintenance crews down there to pick up trash and discarded items. And as you may or may not be aware, it's a very steep slope and is very dangerous for our staff to be going down there and having to retrieve items. I believe that restricting the hours to only allowing parking during daylight hours, so in other words, no parking dusk till dawn, will help significantly curb this behavior. It also gives us direct enforcement action that if a vehicle is parked there at night, regardless of what they're doing or what they may or may not admit to doing, we can take direct enforcement action by ticketing them for parking in a restricted area. This would not require the painting of curbs. This would only require the erection of signage in order to make it enforceable. Because there would be parking during daylight hours, there would be no need to paint the curbs.
Yeah,
I don't know if he's
Yeah,
he's concluded.
I'm concluded.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're not?
I
No,
am.
he is.
I am.
Because I've got some questions up there regarding that area.
Yeah, sure.
Please.
So if we approve this tonight, does it go into effect when?
As soon as we can get the signs up.
Okay, because I will tell you, on July 4th, that's a great viewing place for all of the fireworks around the county.
Correct, it is.
And I'm sure several people there will not enjoy having all those vehicles up there.
Key lock.
Yeah. Yeah, key lock is very similar in that
Yeah.
respect. Yeah. Yes, yes, sir.
It's been 26 years that that's been going on. Because I used to have to go through all the time. People usually left right away after the police come up there.
Yeah.
But it's been a long, long time that those people had to endure all that. And probably, if they would have been quiet and put their trash in the trash can, we wouldn't have to be here. But they don't.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
So I'm probably going to be the lone I'm going to
Don't
just
predict
spit
the
out my,
future.
I'm just going to spit out my sentence. I can see that putting a sign will keep a car from parking there. It is not going to stop people from going there. So here's what I envision could happen. They park on the side street and go hang out on the bench anyway, but they're cool doing that because there's no signage saying that you can't be there from dusk to dawn, right?
Correct.
Okay. Because my concern is that if we didn't do it in key lock, so this goes back a few years because Councilmember Diaz and I sat on that ad hoc committee where they wanted some type of restriction because there's lots of viewing points here in Clayton. They have all kinds of views. So they painted the curb red up there. They talked about putting a fence up so people couldn't see, but the neighbors that live there didn't want that. And so I think they put signage and brighter lights. I just don't know that it's going to be the deterrent for getting the calls that you think, or the trash being eliminated. It'd be great if it is, but I just don't know that that is going to be enough.
I appreciate the concern. Maybe if I can address that a little bit. So key lock is another area we're all familiar with, right? The curbs there were painted red, right? So it's a no parking zone regardless of time. We do still get calls up there. However, we are not getting complaints or calls of trash, debris, and people just hanging out because the vehicle can't be there. As soon as we get there, we ticket the vehicle and they're gone. So it has helped tremendously because the people aren't just hanging out there. It might be a little different on Pebble Beach because of the benches, right? But based on my experience with these types of things, when you set up some type of parameters and can enforce quickly, right, without having to figure out, okay, what's going on, and then oftentimes it's not necessarily a crime, but it's a nuisance, right? This allows us to take decisive action, and that word spreads very quickly. So
Okay.
it may not solve everything, but I see it as a way to create a deterrent.
Okay, so I just want to be clear. If there are people hanging out on the benches that are there and they are playing loud music and hanging out, they can do that all hours of the night.
The loud music is a different issue, because
Okay.
it would be in violation of our noise ordinance.
So what if they're just playing music and it's not loud?
There's a decibel requirement at a certain distance.
So if they're just hanging out and they've got their phone and they're playing music and it's not that loud, they can do that in the middle of the night?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no restrictions on that.
I just
and-
want the neighbors up there to be clear on what they're calling for and not calling for, because the neighbors will call you for everything, which is my concern.
Yeah.
Is they're going to think that no one is allowed to hang out at the benches, and that is not what this says.
Yeah, that's part of the challenge too, because so for example, our city parks, right, are closed dusk till dawn, essentially, right? At nighttime hours, you can't be in the city park.
Yeah.
Our ordinance, I'd have to review it again, but it extends in a lot of ways to our open space, right? It's the same spirit of the ordinance, right? The challenge is there's benches there, right? So and it's right along the curb, right? So if you're on the sidewalk, it's okay, but if you're a foot over, maybe it's not okay. Not real clear. You follow me? So that does create some ambiguity and some challenges. But yes, correct. Because of the benches being there, because it's accessible right at the curb line, people being there during the night is not a violation.
Okay.
Right. But the parking would be.
You know, I was thinking if that becomes an issue, as Councilmember Tillman said, those benches were put in by the neighborhood. If it becomes a big issue with them, they could have removed.
Correct.
Then there'd be no issue anymore,
Correct.
because those are their benches.
The benches are property of the
The
neighborhood.
HOA,
and
their homeowners.
There's no HOA.
There's no
They
HOA.
paid for those benches.
But is it in the city right of way?
Right. It's just about to ask the same thing.
It is. It's in the open space,
So it's our benches.
dedicated to some individuals.
Yes.
Yes.
But I would think if it's a big problem and they want them removed, we may honor that request.
I think that this was raised as part of the discussion with the neighbors, that if we try the one thing and it fails, then another thing would be to take the benches away.
I have so many comments.
Yes.
Well, and I just have one question. So, like Councilmember Tillman said, people can sit on the bench, but they can't have open alcohol, right? They can't litter. I mean, so there are still some restrictions.
Correct.
To hopefully curb some of the behavior.
I mean, I would think what you're suggesting is a deterrent. But I mean, one of the things you mentioned was smoking. People can smoke, right? I mean, you can smoke out anywhere on the street if you want to.
So that again, going back to the challenge.
Music, yeah.
Actually not. No, you can't. So along the sidewalk, there's nothing in our city ordinance that prohibits smoking on the sidewalk or in a city street, right? Or in the public area classified that way. However, you can't in the open space where the benches are. So when we've contacted people regarding this issue and they're standing on the sidewalk, there's nothing to enforce. Our ordinance doesn't extend to the sidewalk.
So, I mean, just to play devil's advocate, the benches sit on pavement that abuts onto the sidewalk, and we're going to make the delineation that standing here versus 1 foot over there is what we would cite someone, and we think that will hold. That seems a little sketchy.
I'm not sure if I understand your question.
Like if you're standing on the 1 foot over the line where the bench is on pavement and you're smoking versus 1 foot and now you're on the sidewalk, we're going to make that distinction and cite
because
someone?
that's what the ordinance says. Correct. It'd be the same thing as somebody smoking across the street or on the sidewalk of a city park and being in the park. It's the same distinction.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's fine. There's abundant parking available right adjacent to this place that we're talking about. I mean, you're talking about a space that is, I can't really estimate distance on the map, but it looks like it's maybe 100, 150 feet-ish, give or take. I don't know. I don't know the exact distance. But there are like side streets that are directly adjacent that are even close. Like if you want to get to the bench, you're probably better off I mean, depending on how crowded it could be. I'm just saying, I do believe that it would be a deterrent, but only a minor one. So, and I guess I had to ask, you said that you received X number of calls, but I'm guessing like the people that would be, the folks that may be impacted by bad behavior in the area is probably limited to a certain proximity to the benches in question. I mean, the benches being there kind of indicate a desire to have people be there. If they did not want people to be there, then you wouldn't make it friendly for them to be there. The challenge that I mean, this is just my own, for me, when I go places and there are no trash cans available, I find it's a lot more prevalent to have litter because there's nowhere to put it. I carry it out. I'm a big camping person, the whole bring it in, bring it out kind of thing. But if there were like trash cans in the area, I think that would also be a pretty strong deterrent as well. And a lot easier for a maintenance crew to pick up. Those boxes that exist so that they don't get knocked over and they don't blow, they're wind protected and all the other stuff that you have the latch and all the stuff that they do at campgrounds or whatnot. Is that something that was ever considered? Like one or two in between the benches?
So we could put a trash can up there. It would be more staff time to drive up there and
Well, they're
empty
doing it
those.
already. They're going up there already to clean up the stuff, right?
Let's be clear. What they're throwing down the hill are things like old TV sets and microwave ovens,
Okay.
beer
That's
cans, yellow Solo cups.
Okay.
I mean, so some of those will go into the trash can, some not so much. It's a variety of things that our maintenance staff has had to pull up that hill. in rather treacherous conditions. And I don't ask me to explain the human behavior that thinks that that's okay. I can't. So, but the garbage may go down the hill unless we, bolt it to the sidewalk right next to the benches. Then we can, do that. But that's the kind of stuff that's there. It's not just a cigarette butt or a Solo cup. It's other stuff in the back of their cars.
Okay. It's just odd because the person that's going to pull up a car